Your story is not only motivational, you told me that you made your wife cry, it made me cry.
And I had showed up for class 6 days out of 40 something. It turned out to be one of the biggest blessings because that's actually where I met my wife.
And at 19, you were married with a kid.
That phase was very much I don't know who I am, I don't know what I want, but I know I need to excel at this because I need this job to pay for my kids and to make sure that I have what I need to take care of everybody.
Despite all of the effort and success, because you were successful, you were climbing, you were getting promotions, but you said, I kept running into the same wall. Every time I applied for a promotion beyond the store level, the response was always, you're doing great, but we cannot move you up without a college degree. Every time I tried to level up, whether it was applying for funding, pitching a project, or pursuing bigger opportunities, I kept running into those same two questions. What's your education? What's your experience?
I don't even look back on it and think it was hard, which is weird because to anybody like listening, that's like, that sounds really difficult. But to me, it was just like, I'm just going to get this done. I'm just going to commit and I'm just going to do it. And I put my head down and just went.
We were both in shock, unable to comprehend how something like this could happen at such a young age. All I could think was, this can't be real. In an instant, every plan, every goal, and every strategy I had worked for seemed irrelevant. Life was no longer about building wealth or closing deals. It was about finding meaning in life. It became about keeping her alive. It became about holding on.
So she had less than a 2% chance of getting that type of cancer.
You had probably the best chapter. And I say this in even humbly, like my chapter, your chapter is better than my chapter. You really gave so much, so many different stories of struggle that I really just want to go into detail because your story is not only motivational. You told me that you made your wife cry. It made me cry. So we are going to get into this because I just think that you did such a phenomenal job and so many people are going to find just so much value in your chapter. So first of all, thank you for doing this with me, John.
Yeah, I'm honored that I'm making people cry, I guess.
You should be happy to be making people cry. So your chapter, overcoming your situation and BS, making an impact in your life. Like you really got there and told us about how you were getting over your own BS. So you start off your chapter and you just get right into it. It starts off where you were raised in suburban Salt Lake City, but you always thought that you were going to be an NFL star. And you're in high school and you're this scrawny little kid, but not really realizing it. Maybe you're real good in your high school, but you're not realizing you're probably about 100 pounds too small for the NFL. So when it hits you that that's probably not going to happen, what was that like? And when did you kind of realize it, I guess? Like at what point did you realize like, I'm probably not going to the NFL?
Yeah, I weighed, my sophomore year of high school, I weighed 100 pounds. My parents used to come to my games and they would tell me that they would always identify me on the sidelines because I had the skinniest legs. So I guess I was easy to spot. The pads were, early 90s, mid 90s, like the pads were, not what they have
Right.
now,
Yeah,
where
they
they would
were.
stick
They were like
out.
really wide. Yeah.
I'm the littlest guy running down the field. And it was probably sophomore year. I was playing on the JV team and I'm just not a big guy. Like I tried to gain weight, just never could. So it was about then that I figured it out and it hit me like a ton of bricks. It was hard. I wouldn't say I went through depression, but I went through a lot of like identity crisis.
When you said that you ended up in alternative high school. So
I
obviously
did.
you were doing some teenage stuff. What was that? What were you up to?
We started going to raves, getting into trouble, doing just stupid teenager stuff, lots of parties, hanging out,
Yeah.
skipping school. I think there was my senior year, there was one semester where I went and got my attendance record and I had showed up for class 6 days out of 40 something. I made it to school, but I would walk my mom would drop me off at the front door and I'd walk in and then I walk out the side door to the parking lot. And then I'd skip school the rest of the day. Or there were a couple of classes I really liked, like PE. And then there was a business class that I had that I would show up to, but I'd miss the rest of the day. And
All
this
right.
was back in the day when they still called your house when you missed school. So I'd hurry home and be there to answer the phone and make sure that, oh yeah, I'll let them know.
I know I have done that so many times. Race home because my parents did go home to like 5 something. I get home at 2 something, 3 something.
Yeah.
Erase that message off the answer machine. And back in the day, we had the cassette, so I would sometimes remove the cassette, switch the cassette.
We didn't have an answering machine, so that wasn't even a worry. I just had to make sure that they didn't answer it. So it was about then that I realized it. And then I remember being pulled in by the school counselor. It was senior year at some point, and they basically just said like attendance credit was a thing then. So if you didn't show up, you had to make up attendance credit. And they're like, you've missed so many days of school. There's not enough time for you to make up the attendance credit that you're missing to graduate on time. And I'm like, oh, yeah, that's a problem. And so they told me I could go to two different options. One was, since I was 18 already, I could go to this adult ed where you'd get basically a diploma. It wasn't a GED, it was a diploma. Or I could go to the GED thing with most of the people that were not in traditional school either. And I'm like, well, I'll go to the place where I get the regular diploma,
Right.
because I'm like thinking about the future. I'm like, that's going to matter on a resume. Like that's going
Yeah.
to be important to have an actual
Yeah.
diploma and not just the GED.
Yeah.
So I made that decision, and it was like 20 minutes from my house. It turned out to be one of the biggest blessings because that's actually where I met my wife.
Right.
We were
Yeah.
there for very different reasons. I was there because I didn't like school. She was there because she got in a pretty severe accident when she was 16 and
Oh,
missed almost all of her junior year of high school.
okay.
So I met her there. It worked out. It wasn't an easy path to get there, and I chose the hard way for sure.
Yeah. And I love that because you were really raw and honest. And so when you said that, you said, I picked up my pride and I made the switch. That was one of the lines that kind of stood out to me. And you said, I'm not sure if you've ever attended an alternative school, but let's say that's not where the brightest and the most promising students typically are sent. So I thought that was really raw and real and honest of yourself. But again, in the sea of crazy teenage decisions, you
Yeah.
did make that one better one to say, okay, I'm going to get a diploma instead of a GED. And not that there's anything wrong with the GED, but I'm pretty sure that made it a lot easier for you to then, when you were, or, we'll skip ahead a little
Mhm.
bit. When you go back to school at 32 and get the bachelor's and get the master's, it probably
Yeah.
was a little bit easier to get accepted into school and all those things, having an actual.
Yeah, an actual degree. Well, so what I ended up doing that I didn't put in there is after I graduated, my wife got pregnant. We're 18 years old. We'd been dating for 4 months,
Yeah.
and I ended up going to Stevens Henniger College to get an accounting degree or like a business degree. And I did that for a little while, and I'm like, I hate accounting. Like, this is not what I want to do with my life. But I finished that, and then, fast forward, I'm like, I didn't think I could attend a traditional college because I just figured I didn't do extracurriculars. I didn't do, all that stuff that they tell you need. And so I'm like, well, I probably can't even get into Weber State, which is a university that's here. And it wasn't until all this other stuff had happened that at 32, I'm like, well, let's just see. And when I had gone to the previous college, they're like, yeah, all your credits will transfer
Okay.
as like generals. I'm like, okay, cool. So I called up Weber State, and they're like, no, none of them will transfer. Like,
Oh,
not a
wow.
single one transfers. And then again, that's another tough decision point. Well, none of them transfer. I got to start from zero. Like, I'm not
Right.
even starting where I thought I would be. I'm going to have to start
Right.
from zero and go the entire 4 years
Yeah.
to get that
Well, what
bachelor's
happened? Did they
degree.
not have accreditation or did they lose their accreditation? I've
It
had
was
that.
it was a different accreditation is what they told me. Because I remember talking to them, and I'm just like, my heart sank when they told me. I'm like, oh man, like this is gonna
Yeah.
suck. Like the only credits that counted were a health class and the marketing class that I took in high school. Those are the only thing that transferred. I was smart enough in high school that I took AP math, that actually some of that transferred too. So I didn't start from zero. I think I started with like 4.5 credits or something. And so the half a credit made things more interesting too, because I was a half a credit short, so I had to take one extra class. It was good, and also like, it's a lot of those little micro decisions where
Mm.
you have to just like, hey, you know what? If I really want this, I need to buckle
Yeah.
down. I need to just do it and not think about the entirety of what that's going to look like, but
Right.
just like, I know I want this. I need to get after it, and this is going to benefit myself and my family and, grandkids, whatever. I'm at that
Yeah.
age now where, I start thinking about that too, right? Like my kids are
Yeah.
almost ready to have kids.
Let's go back before you even went to college, okay?
Yeah.
So, because you said something really interesting that I did not know about you, and it's just to know that you are now this top person, millions of dollars asset under management, running different funds, buying companies, like who you are today. To know that you said, we had this baby really young, we're married, and at 19, you were married with a kid. that in itself is incredible to me. I'm like, I know who I was at 19. I have a 19-year-old daughter, and we're just like, what? We're idiots. Like, there's no possible way we could be caring for another human being. But
Yeah.
you were
Yeah.
doing it and doing it really well. Like you said, you started working really hard. You were working at a Fortune 500, you said, restaurant chain,
Restaurant. Yep.
and just working your way up and really being kind of ambitious instead of saying that, you know what? I can be ambitious and still achieve in this. So talk through that part of your life because that was obviously really fulfilling in some points, but it also led you to say, I'm going to go back to college and get some degrees. So what was that period in your life like?
When she found out she was pregnant, she called me and she's like, "Hey, you need to get a job where you have insurance." I'm like, "Okay, I guess that's what I'm gonna do."
Yeah.
And so I got this job just as a night shift supervisor. I'd go to Steam Brewery in the day and I'd go to work right after.
Yeah.
And work all night, and then I wake up and do it all over again. I know there's some days that my wife would wake up, she'd find me asleep in the shower because I didn't get any sleep the night before. We're living with her parents and raising this baby, and so like that phase was very much I don't know who I am, I don't know what I want, but I know I need to excel at this because I need this job to pay for my kids and to
Yeah.
make sure that I have what I need to take care of everybody.
Okay.
So at 20 or 19, we bought our first house,
Okay.
um, right up the street from her dad, and it was $125,000. That's wild
Nice.
to say out
I
loud.
love that. I
That
love
same
that.
house today would be like 500 grand.
I'm like, it was 157,000. Like I tell, I remember that number so well. And then let me tell you what
125.
I'm for. The first house that I bought at 23, I paid 157,000. I looked it up the other day. It's almost 900,000. I'm like,
Whew,
ooh, imagine if I'd have kept it.
right?
Anyway, keep going.
Yeah. And that same thought process comes to me too, because now it's like worth 500,000, and it's like, oh man, like I did that for 5, 6 years. I worked there from 99 until '04.
Okay.
And I worked my way from that shift supervisor to a store manager.
Nice.
In that period of time, I got promoted to a store manager in 2002. It was right when my son was born. I was the youngest store manager in the company.
Yes, you have a lot of amazing achievements that you said in here about being one of the youngest, having one of the top 10 locations that you ran. And then you had this of course great part that I want to get into. You said despite all of the effort and success, because you were successful, you were climbing, you were getting promotions, well you said I kept running into the same wall. Every
Yeah,
time I applied for a promotion beyond the store level, the response was always, "You're doing great, but we cannot move you up without a college degree."
yep. And that happened at a different location, a different job that I took years later.
Yeah.
But when I was working at the place, like I just kept running into these barriers where it was like, I don't know if it was me because I'm a unique personality. I have ADD. I didn't know it at the time. I can be all over the place at times, and that in society that rubs people the wrong way,
It
right?
can,
They
yeah.
they want the fluff, they want the pat on the back, and all of the cheerleading and all that, and I'm just not that guy, which made it really hard to connect with people. And so I started running into problems where I'm like, hey, my store's doing really well. Why can I not get a look to be promoted? Because
Mm,
basically, that from store manager, it's training store manager,
right,
and then it was district manager, and I could
right.
never even get a look for training manager.
Mm,
And so I contacted our HR department and just said, hey, like I don't know what's going on, but I can't get a look. I'm the
mm,
number two in the state with
yeah,
numbers. Number 2 in 60 restaurants in Utah.
yeah, yeah,
Like, that's huge.
that
My
is.
numbers are good, everything's good. Why do I not get a look?
Yeah.
And I remember they called me and said, "Hey, we're coming out to meet with you." They showed up at my restaurant. We sat down, and I remember the director of area operations looked across the table at me and he said, "What else is it that you think you can do?" Kind of like, "Where are you going? Like, you have no future." And at that point, I made the decision like, this is not going to work out. Um, they don't wanna give me a look, they don't care. Obviously, it's me against the world right now, it feels like, so I'm gonna just find a different path. And it was at that time that I actually dove into the world of real estate coaching.
Okay.
So, at that point, I did that. I started doing that in '04, and we were coaching Carlton Sheets, Ron LeGrand, like, all of these big names that if you were around at that time, you know who they are. Nowadays, like, Sub 2 belongs to Pace Morby, and it used to be Ron LeGrand, right? Like arbitration. You're finding and you're leasing things back to people to make a profit off of what you're charging them versus what you're securing it for, lease options, all those things. They existed back then, but people, they've just been rebranded, right?
I tell people the same. I said the guy who taught me all of the stuff that made me, $1 million. I said he was 70 years old, and he taught me this in 2009, and he
Yep.
had been doing it for 30 years. So guys, this is not new.
No, it's not new.
Nothing I'm telling you is new. This has been around. It's just you didn't know about it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's always been around. It's been around for a real, but then it was the, like, what, 27 cassette tapes with a side A and side B and a
Actually, and
binder that was like
they would
that thick.
and no one would read, right?
Yeah.
So they could never do it.
So I started doing that, and then after the recession, we went through a lot of problems and difficulty because that whole world just the bottom dropped out.
Right.
And it was at that point that I'm like, if I don't do something now, like going to school, like I'm just going to be stuck here again. I'm just going to end up back in the same place. I need to get some kind of education because you're applying, I'm looking at jobs, and everything back then was bachelor's degree.
That's
Degree.
right.
And I'm like, well, I got a high school education,
Yeah.
and I've been coaching businesses. I've been coaching people on how to start a business for 10 years.
2007, 2008, everything starts to fall apart. Again, I worked in subprime mortgages. You think that?
Oh,
think you were
geez.
branded.
Yeah.
And I knew how to do Fannie Mae loans. I knew to do FHA, but I was a subprime underwriter when it all kind of crashed down. So I could not, we were just like, do not even look
Just
at their
dead.
resume.
Mhm.
And that's when I didn't have a bachelor's degree. Like you said, every single job, no matter what it was, executive assistant, just everything.
You wouldn't even get a rejection email. You just submit.
So
It's
I
just
too
gone.
forced back, yeah, and into school. So yeah, we actually that have a very similar story with that. But you said, and you have the same. This is what I'm telling you, like we have the same experience. You would say, because this is the exact same that happened to me. This is what you wrote. You said, I faced another roadblock every time I tried to level up, whether it was applying for funding, pitching a project, or pursuing bigger opportunities. I kept running into those same two questions. What's your education? What's your experience? I resented those questions. That and
Oh,
I hated the
100%.
education one. I was okay with the experience, of course, but the education, you're right. I remember I literally felt like I was in an interview and I had the job, and she said this one question. She said, "Oh, I see here you have UConn on your resume, but you didn't put what year you graduated. You just put your GPA." Because that was one little trick that I did. I put the school because I was a dropout, and I put what my GPA was when I dropped out. Thought that might work. And she said, "Well, what year did you graduate?" And I was like, "Oh no, I didn't graduate." And she closed the folder and ended the interview.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Yeah, mine was I would reach out to, like, so I had this idea of what I'm kind of like what I'm doing now,
Yeah.
and I would just reach out to these private, like, I could get indoors, I could get responses. This was before all the spam email and everything that everybody gets. Like, so I was firing off emails and saying, "Hey, like, here's the vision of what I'm doing. I'm looking to raise this amount of money." And that
Yeah.
was the question they'd always fire back with. What
Mm.
education do you have?
Mm.
None. Like, I just learned how to do this. I just did. And
Yeah.
this is before YouTube and everything where you can learn it super fast now. It was reading, it was learning, it was doing, it was studying, it was going and checking
Like
out books from the library.
conferences, it was seminars, it was
Yeah.
workshops, it was networking events. I was no YouTube, like you said,
Mhm.
like, and people get to learn from us here. So then you said, like, age 32, you decide to go back to school. You're balancing full-time work, full-time fatherhood, and full-time studies. It wasn't easy, but I was committed to it. No excuses. So
Yeah.
that was really like your turning point where you really started to go to school, finish school, and you really seemed to get into your stride of success. Talk
Mhm.
about that period in your life because it does seem markedly different than your earlier years.
Yeah, I mean, it was similar to the other situation. I'd work in the day, and the schedule worked out so that I had every Tuesday off, and I worked closed on Thursday, and then I had every other weekend off.
Nice.
And so I would go to school in the morning, and I would go to work right after, and then I would do homework at night, stay up till 2, 3 in the morning, wake up, do it all over again for 4
Yeah.
years. And that part of my life, it was, it's funny is I don't even look back on it and think it was hard,
Yeah.
which is weird.
Yeah.
Because to anybody like listening, that's like, that sounds really difficult. But to me, it was just like, I'm just going to get this done. I'm just going
Yeah.
to commit and I'm just going to do it. And I put my head down and just went.
Yeah. Really
Oh,
awesome.
hours of homework,
Yeah.
finance papers,
You
English
said the focus
papers, like
that yeah, you really got into it. You said the power of focus and identity. Like you really were
yeah,
focused and you had found your identity.
yeah. And
Like
there was
your
plenty of
ambition.
roadblocks, and that is when I figured out what I wanted to do. I
Yeah.
figured out like what kind of degree I wanted. I figured
Yeah.
out what I wanted to major in. I figured out, and it happened when it needed to happen, because if it
Yeah.
had happened in the 20s, like I probably would have never figured it out. I probably
Right.
would have taken an accounting job and stayed there for forever, and that's that. But
Yeah.
I really figured out, like, one, what the difference between accounting and finance were, right? Like, because everybody thinks it's the same except for those that are in it.
Yeah.
Um, and I really realized that, like, I like this finance stuff. This is fun.
Mm.
Like talking about money
Yeah.
and how
Accounting's
you
more
make money
finance is
and
actually more fun. It's like applied accounting, you know what I mean? It's
yeah.
I like economic development over economics. It's like it's applied. I'm taking
Hmm.
these concepts and these theories and applying it instead of just debits and credits.
Yeah, yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
100%. Like I know how to do some accounting work, but it's still like the finance, it's how you leverage money and what's
Yeah.
the best leverage that you can use and how do you do that. So
Yeah.
it was at that time that I figured it out, and I will say the school I went to was amazing. Um,
Okay.
it's just a local school here called Weber State, but their business degree program is stellar. Because when I finally got done, and then I basically enrolled in my MBA the following, I graduated in April and I enrolled in January.
Okay.
Like I was going through my classes, I'm like, I already know this. I
Yeah.
already know all of this. Like
Yeah.
this is so my MBA was actually easier than my degree
That's
because I
awesome.
had such
And
a
you
good undergraduate.
right, because you have this great talent. You really do
Yeah.
have this great talent, and it does seem like you really found the thing that you're passionate about and that you're good about.
Yeah.
Good at
And so I figured it out then, and then when I left the job that I was at and went to a different job while I did my MBA, and that was obviously significantly easier because it's an office job and I was only working like 8 to 5, and classes were online. I didn't have to go to Washington to take my classes or anything like that. So it was really good that it really shaped how I do things. It really shaped what I do. And then yeah, just started going in that direction and just started doing a lot of research and everything. When I graduated with my MBA, it was then like, okay, well now I have the education. I've got the knowledge, plus I have the experience, plus I have the education.
and I think what's hilarious is so funny. I've said this before. It's like before I got my degrees, it seemed like everyone would ask me. And now that I had them, I don't get that question. But my
Ever.
mom said it's because you carry yourself differently.
It very well could be.
Anyway, you had this really amazing part too. So after you have the degree, and obviously we're going to talk about your wife in a second and the part that made all of us cry. But before we get to that part, you talked about even just becoming an investor. You said, when I first began, I would tell people I'm trying to get into investing. I
Yeah.
had to wait until I hit a particular milestone before I could claim the title. One day I flipped the script. I stopped saying I'm trying and started saying I'm an investor. Like magic, that tiny shift changed everything. Once
Hmm.
I fully embraced the identity, everything began to shift. Doors that had once seemed permanently closed started to open. People began to show up. Mentors arrived. Opportunities presented themselves. Deals started to materialize. Like basically, your world opened up when you took out the word trying and you just
Yeah.
said, I am, and let that be what it is. Talk about that.
It's funny hearing somebody else say it when it's like, but I think that's where a lot of us struggle, right? Like we're trying to do something different,
Yeah.
but instead of saying this is what I'm doing, we're constantly saying I'm trying.
Right.
And if people, you go out to somebody and say I'm trying to raise $1 million versus
Right.
I'm raising $1 million, it's a
Right.
different conversation, right?
Correct.
And so the minute I stopped saying I'm trying to invest, that's exactly what happened. People started taking me more seriously. People started presenting me with deals. I started
Yeah.
getting offers. I started
Yes.
getting stuff put in front of me. And
Yeah.
then it becomes a different, you're no longer searching for the things because they're there.
Mm.
I'm not trying to buy real estate. I'm buying real estate. If you go
Right.
online in a Facebook group and say, I buy houses, then
Right.
you're going to get people sending you deals. Like
Right.
you're a proponent of that, right? Like
Yes, I
quit
am.
passively doing it and just go for it. And
Yeah.
so the minute I said I'm an investor, my first deal got brought to me and said, hey, this person's looking for money for inventory. She's
Mhm.
running a cosmetics company. She's looking for 10 grand and they need an investor. I'm like, well, I'm an investor and I have 10 grand.
Yeah.
Let's make this work.
Yeah.
And it worked. And
Yeah.
she's doing really well now. So
Yeah.
it was, I didn't know anything about makeup. I didn't know anything, but I think the big thing about when you invest, not to get too off topic here, is the person, right? Like the person that you're investing in needs to be self-aware and know what they're doing and know the space and the industry because everything else is just math,
That's true.
right? Like
And people invest, they don't realize, yes, you're investing in a company, yes, you're investing in a service or a product, but you are investing in the owner, the
the
founder.
people.
And that's why when they go to VCs and you talk about venture capitals and these think tanks and these money tanks and these angel investors, they always want to meet with the founders because it truly is that's the X factor.
Mm-hmm.
Not how great the product is, not how great the marketing, but if you can talk to the founder and you realize they have some grit, they have some resilience, they have this this stick to itness and this commitment to it. To me, those are like the top things. So I
Yeah.
absolutely love 2 points that you made there. One, claiming it, owning it. That was one of the first things that my coach taught me when I said, "Okay, I'm going to be an investor and I'm not just some lady that lives in a basement, and I'm poor and I'm broke and I'm all of this. No,
Right.
I'm an investor and I'm a cash buyer." And I would say those
Mm-hmm.
things. And I literally was sweat under my arm when I first started doing it.
Same.
It worked.
Yeah.
And truly, it's 2 things going on. Obviously, you're saying it, and you really do speak things into existence. If you say you're trying to raise $1,000,000 or you're trying to buy houses, then the universe is, yes, yes, you are
Yep.
trying.
Yep.
Yes, sure
You're
are.
sure
That's
trying.
exactly what you're doing.
Everybody loves to try hard, right? Like, isn't that the saying?
Exactly,
Something like that?
exactly. And the same thing goes when you say, "I am an
Yeah.
investor. I am buying houses. I am raising $1,000,000." Again, universe, yes, absolutely. And now
Mm-hmm.
that was actually manifesting. So it's that one little shift that was amazing in what you said. And then the other part of just not even realizing too the opportunities that exist. So this lady, has this great cosmetic company or like you said, needs $10,000 for it. If she doesn't believe in her idea, you're not even going to go try to find 10,000.
Right.
No one's going to find $10,000.
100%.
So it
Yeah.
really does matter your business and you believing in it just as much before you ask people for money. You get what I'm saying? Like you can't
Yeah.
ask people to invest in something that you don't believe in.
Right. Right. And I think over the years I've learned this. I didn't know it at the time, but all of the deals that have not gone well have
Mm,
been because the owner isn't super self-aware. And
yeah.
so she was self-aware of where her downsides were and what she wasn't good at, but she's a
Mm,
great marketer. She's great with people. She's great with the product. She's in that niche of the cosmetics line. And so it worked out well. So seeing those things, I've seen plenty of deals where the person's not self-aware, they don't know, and it's like, yeah, no, no,
yeah.
this isn't gonna work.
Yeah.
Um, and so I credit a lot of that to the the stuff I had to go through being a manager at these different companies because there was a lot of leadership development throughout that process. So you get to really get good at asking good questions. And if they're saying this, then it probably means this.
Yeah.
So it's funny how all of this cumulative experience also has rolled up to what's happening now,
Yeah.
right? Like you don't see it at the time, but you're taking the opportunities that you get and you're maximizing on your effort at that time. And
Yeah.
I didn't want to work in a restaurant for the rest of my life, but I did my best while I was there to learn and grow as much as I can now. Now I'm consulting restaurants and helping them based on the knowledge that I learned from that. So
Isn't that amazing?
it's
Isn't
funny.
that amazing? Like, and that is one of the that's why I said your chapter is definitely the best because it really did pull that part of it into it as well. Like I said, you shared some major things that people are gonna love. Again, they're gonna get this book and absolutely love your chapter. But I loved how you pulled together, like, every piece of my life is why I get to be this awesome today, and
Yeah.
some of the things that I didn't think were awesome about me are really, really awesome, and they turned out to be this really great skill, and you really do pick that up from your chapter and from you in general,
Yeah.
so I really love that. So let's get to the part that made everybody cry. You were going to school, you said, "That leap became, the setup for the biggest test of my life. Out of nowhere, life hit us with the hardest news yet. My wife was diagnosed with cancer." When I first heard the diagnosis, everything around me blurred. We were both in shock, unable to comprehend how something like this could happen at such a young age. All I could think was, this can't be real. In an instant, every plan, every goal, and every strategy I had worked for seemed irrelevant. Life was no longer about building wealth or closing deals. It was about finding meaning in life. It became about keeping her alive. It became about holding on. I'm telling
Um,
you, right? You gave, brother, you gave, because I was like, wow. Um, because they always say, so I'll even back up and say, there's this saying that you have 99 problems until you have a health problem. Then you just have
yeah,
one.
yep. It was it was wild. Um, I still remember almost every day of that. So first, she was fortunate in that her cancer was operable because there's not a lot of people out there that have that same experience.
Okay.
And with the surgery, um, that basically took care of the cancer. So she still had to do radiation, no chemotherapy. But the surgery, and she had an amazing surgeon. Like, this lady is, if you're in Utah, she's the best. Um, for women's health, she is bar none, just unbelievable. Um, and I remember that day very vividly, like the whole day prior to the appointment, what led up to the appointment, and then everything else after they told her is a blur.
Mm.
Um, and because it was so hard to think she might not be here anymore. And the cancer that she had was typically seen in women over the age of 60. And so she had less than a 2% chance of getting that type of cancer.
Wow.
Um, and so they initially thought it was a fibroid, and we're like, well, will you biopsy it? Because she was just in there for an exam. And so they did. And then we went back later that week, May 5th, 2023, and they told us the news. And it was at that day that, like, because when you hear cancer, you don't know how bad it is. You don't know how much it's spread. You don't know where it is, other than, yes, it tested for it's cancer. We
Yeah.
know it's cancer. That's all we know.
Yeah.
And so then it was, from there, it was surgical consult. It was oncologist consult. It was radiation oncologist consult. It was CTs, MRIs, ultrasounds. There was basically 2 or 3 doctor's appointments a week.
Wow.
Um, and then we went to Disney. The surgeon was like, we had a Disneyland or Disney World trip booked. Um, and she's like, yeah, go enjoy it. Have a good time. So we went the week after she was diagnosed, and that was a different trip. So
Yeah.
so when we came out to the event in May for you,
Yeah.
it was 1 year. It had actually been officially 1 year since she was diagnosed, and we were back at Disney World, and she has a little button that says, I'm celebrating 1 year cancer free,
Wow.
when we came back in May. But anyway, it was hard.
Yeah.
In a different kind of hard. Your body enters fight or flight. You just start taking care of things. Like, you just start doing.
Yeah.
And now, now I'm dealing with some of the after effects of that because the fight or flight's still there.
Yeah.
I'd never had panic attacks, but since this is all like mellowed out, I get those now.
Mm.
Um, and just different stress and anxiety and things that I've never dealt with in the past. And so now it's a different chapter. It's a different life.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
um but that whole period, I went to every single radiation treatment, every single one. I didn't miss. I missed two because we had booked tickets to go see the Yankees in Colorado in July, and it was like 3 days after she started treatment. So I missed one treatment while we were gone over the weekend, and then went to every other one after that. But it was 23 treatments every day for 23 days, except for weekends. So she would go in, I'd sit in the lobby and do a puzzle while she was there, and then she'd come out. And radiation's 15, 20 minutes. That's it. They go back, they do it, and then she's out. She was sick from day one. So
Okay.
and then you throw on, she had surgery on top of that. So she can't lift anything.
Yeah.
She can't really get around. She has trouble walking. So I took over all of the household stuff, cooking, cleaning, laundry, all that stuff so that she could just rest. And so those treatments lasted until August 11th. And she wasn't cleared for physical activity because of the radiation caused her healing to slow down.
Right.
So she wasn't actually cleared for anything until January. It's kind of funny. It was exactly the date. It was exactly, it was January 8th that she was finally cleared. Like, okay, yeah, you're healed. You're good.
Okay.
Yeah, it was exactly, what did we figure out? 8 months or something like that
Mm-hmm.
to the day of the actual being told she had cancer. And so it was, during that time, everything got put on hold. Like I was in the middle of buying a business. I'm sorry, I'm busy. My wife's got cancer. Like I'm not doing anything. I didn't take phone calls. I didn't really text people. My family showed up huge and brought us meals. Our neighbors that we lived in the same house for 13 years and we didn't know any of our neighbors. Like none of them.
That is
Now we
awesome.
know all of them.
Come
Because
together.
they
I
all
love it.
stepped up and brought us meals and came over
Yeah,
and took care of
yeah.
us. And
I'd say that
it
people are
was
actually very kind. I say that
it was
most people
amazing.
are kind.
It was
I don't think
amazing.
that the world is an awful place, and obviously, I think
Yeah,
that you proved a lot of that here with just, like, the kindness of family, friends, neighbors.
man, like it was wild. And then yeah, like neighbors across the street that I didn't even know, and they're bringing us dinner and bringing us food and stopping by and seeing how we're doing and seeing if we need anything. And it was amazing.
Yeah.
Um, and we're still, I wouldn't say we're in the thick of it, but we're very still much in it. Like we just had an oncology follow-up yesterday. Um, where, they're like, everything looks good, your labs look good, scans look good, everything's tracking in the right direction right now.
Okay, good.
So,
Good.
but you learn how to deal with adversity and
Yeah.
you learn a lot about yourself in those situations too.
Yeah. And I think
Of
you learned how much you love your wife. I mean,
yeah,
I think that's
yeah,
what got anyone that reads your chapter in this book, they're gonna get how much you loved your wife and how much not that you took her for granted, you never said like, "Oh, I didn't care,"
right.
and then
It
this happened,
definitely
I started
it
no,
changes
you
the
loved
dynamic.
and always did, but it's
Yeah.
like it took a whole nother level, it seems like, I kept going for her, for the woman that oh my god, like, I can't read this without crying, so I'm gonna say, like, take a deep breath. You said, "I kept going for her." For the woman who had built a life with me, who had
Yeah.
believed in me before I believed in myself. I kept going for our family, for the kids who still needed to see their dad standing tall, even when everything around us felt like it was falling apart.
Yeah.
I kept going for the future that I promised her we'd have.
What's crazy about all of that is she worked in an oncology clinic for 15 years.
Really?
Yeah. So she was their patient advocate. So anybody that was diagnosed, she helped them get medical cards or Neupogen shot for free or grants or whatever. And so that also changed the dynamic of a lot of people go into cancer and they don't know what they're dealing with, right? She knew exactly what, so that, that ramps up the anxiety of like, yeah, I know
Right,
how this goes for most people.
right.
So there's a different level there of understanding and being a good listener and letting her be however she's feeling. And that's a challenge too, because you've got to show up to support them in whatever that looks like. And that's something that they can't be taught, I guess. I don't know. It was hard. And so, but knowing that she had been through all of that, it changes what you know is coming.
Mm,
And so then it's, yeah, I know exactly how this goes. I know what this looks like, the reoccurrence rates, you know,
mhm.
all of that stuff. So
Right, right.
it's, it was, and that's why we knew what doctors to go to. It's because she
You
worked,
got pros and
we go to the
cons.
doctor that she used to work for. So,
Right.
and he's amazing. Like he's a great guy. So, um, but yeah, so that's it, it's shaping who I'm becoming now, right? Like it's hard. Um,
Yeah.
and it's still hard and but
So
it's a
take us
different
to
kind of hard.
today because you end your chapter. Obviously, you go through that part, but you end your chapter very optimistically,
Yeah.
and you give a just a great overview of act now. This acronym that you use to kind of pull yourself forward and to always kind of stay in it. And again, I highly recommend this book and highly recommend your chapter. Um, so where's John today? Where all of these lessons? Because obviously we're always in a new chapter. So
Yeah.
where are you in your life?
I think now it's we started a fund. We're investing in real estate. We're in the middle of an acquisition on a company here in Utah that we're in the thick of it right now. We're working on real estate projects in different states in Tennessee and Texas and it gave me one the ability to like how do I simplify what I'm doing so that I can get effective so that if
Mm,
something happens, I've got appointments that we go to every 3 months. Like the time doesn't stand still. Life still
right.
happens. And so it really made me put a microscope on my life to systemize what I'm
Mm,
doing. How can I be better? How can I be more efficient without, turning myself inside out day in and day out? I already did the work from sun up to sundown thing. Like I
right.
don't have that energy anymore. Um,
Love it.
I don't have that. I don't have that go button
Right.
anymore like I used to.
Right.
I
Right.
definitely need 6 hours of sleep
It's
or I'm
not
dead to the world.
in 10 and in 3 seconds anymore. It's maybe, four.
Yeah. And so it's good. Like our relationship's different, but I think it's a better different.
I love it.
Um, and it continues to evolve, right? Like it's going to continue to change, and I
Right,
think
because you
that's
guys are
where,
still young, so it's so
yeah,
funny to say, like, we're all very still young people, we're
yeah,
not in the 3rd or 4th quarter of our lives, like, if we're being
right,
honest.
yeah,
I'm not even sure we're at halftime yet, so,
yeah,
it's still early in the game for all of us, but I just love all of your successes. I really love that you shared so much in this. Again, like I've said this to you, I could not believe how great your chapter was and how much you shared and like it's so motivational, it's so smart, it's so knowledgeable. I really think people are going to get so much out of this, and I'm so proud to say that you are one of my business partners, and I truly knew there was something special about you
thank you.
already, you know what I mean, but it was like, oh, now I get it. You get that open, like, now I get it.
Yeah, yeah. This is why you can put up with so much.
Right. Exactly,
It's
but I'm like,
crazy.
he's worth it. He's the keeper. You know how it's just like
Yeah, this little
so
kid
no.
from the suburbs of Roy, like, it's if anybody knows where that is, like, that's where I grew up. But it's it's been eye-opening. The whole thing, the opportunity to write this has been just amazing. And I had funny thing about writing this is I wrote it while we were on a cruise ship. Like I took
Really?
I took a I stayed up one night and I had a drink and I
Okay.
went and sat on the balcony and I just talked into my phone. Um and I just kept talking. So,
Well, you did a
like
phenomenal
and then
job. You definitely
I got on land.
job. Yeah, and you had a complete project. You really did. You like I said, you really gave with this one, so I really appreciate that.
We were on a cruise and I'm like, crap, the
Mhm.
deadline. I'm like, I need to do this and I can't sit down and write. So I just like, yeah, I put a headphone in and I just recorded a really, really long voice memo.
I
Of
was
like, okay, well, this is how it started.
right.
And that's what came out. So, um, yeah, so it was really good. And I appreciate the opportunity to be in this book with all these other great authors and people who have had, trying experiences. And I think it's awesome, and I hope people will find value in the stories that are shared.
Yeah, I know they will. I know they will. We've already started selling copies. People are already giving it really great reviews. Obviously, it was an Amazon bestseller. We got some great reviews back on it. But I absolutely, again, absolutely thank you so much.
Yeah, I appreciate it. I appreciate it, and I'm looking forward to helping people.
Let's fix that.